Welcome into the Your Illini Nation pregame show here live on scene at Madison Square Garden. Andy Olson, Derek Piper with you as Illinois ready for one of its toughest battles yet, Derek, here on the East Coast. Get that win at Rutgers, feeling good on Saturday, and then you get a very good Florida Atlantic team, and it could be a very big night for Illini fans, the Illini team, if they can pull this one off.
No doubt, it's a huge opportunity. You're obviously under the bright lights here at the Mecca, as they call it, and a great chance to play on a national stage and to make a statement for Illinois, both in terms of the way that they're thought of and perceived in terms of AP polls and just whether they're a real contender in a lot of people's minds to go deep in March, but and also a recipe for that is getting a win like this in your non-conference and having something to hang your hat on when you look back at the early portion of the season and have a win that really moves the needle. I think FAU obviously off to a very good start, number 11 in the country right now in the AP poll, and a team that went to the Final Four last year for a reason and brings back a lot of those pieces. So it's that litmus test, it's that measuring stick type of game that can teach you a lot about where you stand, but also now that you face Kansas, now that you face Marquette, you beat Kansas. Unfortunately, that didn't count. You lost to Marquette on your home floor, unfortunately. You want to win one of these that really counts, and it can boost you when it comes time for Selection Sunday. So that opportunity is on the horizon tonight. And Illinois, like you mentioned, coming off that dominating, convincing win at Rutgers, is probably feeling pretty good about themselves.
Yeah, things are very busy here courtside as we're now about 60 minutes away. I got to make sure that we're all lined up here on the pregame show. There you go, Derek. Got to see all of you. But like I said, 60 minutes, that means fans are starting to file their way in here soon. I've already seen a lot of orange and blue out on the streets of Manhattan as we were walking in today. So it should be a very fun atmosphere. It should be a fun just night overall with UConn in North Carolina, then after Illinois in FAU. Diving into the Owls just a little bit, Derek, you mentioned that they bring back everyone from their Final Four team, and this team knows how to score. Besides one weird game against Bryant, where they only scored 52, this team has been on fire on the offensive side of the ball, and that includes their last 5 games where they're averaging 89 points per game. It's a good thing Illinois ranked in the top 10 in scoring defense, because that is probably going to be the most interesting side of the ball tonight, at least for me.
100%. Yeah, it's strength on strength. You look at Ken Palm's efficiency numbers, Illinois a top 10 defense, FAU a top 10 offense in the country. So Illinois' ability to hold teams down from 3 has been a staple of Brad Underwood's teams, not only this year, but in the past. So on the other side, FAU loves to shoot the 3. They're very good in terms of getting hot from beyond the arc. And when they beat number 12 Texas A&M during Feast Week down in Orlando, hit 16 threes, 16 of 30 as a team, and shot the lights out. John L. Davis, Elijah Martin, a really big two-headed monster there in the backcourt that can really get going, create their own shot off the bounce, but also be those spot-up shooters from beyond the arc too. So I think for Illinois' standpoint, I would like to see as much of Terrence Shannon and Ty Rodgers on those guys, knowing that their size, their athleticism can make clean looks hard to come by. I think FAU will try to get Illinois in some switches and try to find good matchups, maybe against guys like Marcus Samass, Luke Goody. We experienced that and witnessed that a little bit, or a lot of it, I should say, against Marquette when they came to town. And similar to the Golden Eagles, FAU's ability to space the floor, have a number of different guys that can be threats from 3, and also FAU is going to play a 4-guard lineup. They have a lot of different guys that can create off the bounce too. So they're really, really dangerous. They can get going and hurt you from a variety of angles. I got to mention Vlad Golden too, a 7'1" big man on the inside that has really great touch around the basket. When Illinois held down Cliff Amore in the last game against Rutgers, obviously he's more physical and athletic than what we're going to see out of Golden tonight, but Golden is more polished as a back-to-the-basket scorer. Coleman Hawkins, Dane Dage, you're going to try to make things difficult for him, also keep him off the offensive glass. That's something that he's really good at. But, yeah, the Owls can definitely rack up those points. The good news is for Illinois, even if they do let up a little bit in terms of what they're giving up scoring-wise, Illinois' offense was in a pretty good mode there at Rutgers, and I feel like took a step forward coming into this one.
Yeah, what are you taking from that game against Rutgers where Terrence Shannon Jr. double-double with 23 points in that one? Coleman Hawkins returns to the floor and contributes, pretty successful, hoping that knee continues to heal up. He says he's about 80%. At least he was after the game. We'll see after a few more days rest how Coleman Hawkins is feeling in this one. But Derek, your key takeaway from that Illinois win against Rutgers, where, to be honest, the Scarlet Knights never really seemed in it. Their only lead of the game was their very first basket. got within 3 at one point, but then really never put up a fight as we got into the second half.
Yeah, that's what I love, that Illinois came out and threw those first punches and built a 16-4 lead. I know the Rutgers made their run and cut it to 5 by halftime, but Illinois really able to withstand that and then build it back up to 20-plus there in the second half. So it was a complete dominant performance, and one that Illinois should feel obviously very good about. A Rutgers defense that it graded out really highly. It was considered to be a top 10 defense going into that game. So Terrence Shannon, you can't say enough about him, playing at all-American level, at least through the first month of the season. Yeah. And if he continues that on and shoots 40+% from three, which is a tall ask, but right now that's where he's at, he'll be a no-doubt guy that's in that conversation in terms of postseason awards and maybe even the second-best player in the Big Ten behind Zach Edey. But I love the fact that you've got contributions from a number of other different guys. You know, Marcus Damask had a really nice bounce-back game, more aggressive, 15 points, got him in some mid-post matchups where he had the size, and obviously he's just so composed. I've said it many times. I feel like he's playing in his driveway when he's down there, backing you down, just kind of turn around, hit that jump shot. Justin Harmon sparked you with 7 points. Quincy Guerrier early hit a 3 and then had a nice dunk. You just were able to piece it all together with different guys contributing to more of a well-rounded scoring attack. I feel like they moved the ball pretty well and just had more of a flow and a rhythm about them. So I liked how Illinois looked. It looked like a team that was able to address some stuff during the time off. And I think that coming into tonight, you're going to need to be, in terms of cleaning up things, you need to be more sound with the ball. They turned it over 17 times. You know that free throw shooting can be a bugaboo for this team as well, but I like that they were able to take a step forward and see if they can build on that tonight against a team that, like we talked about, can definitely put those points on the board.
Did you have Terrence Shannon Jr., Big Ten three-point percentage leader at this point of the season on your bingo card?
I did not, no. I did know that he got off to a really hot start from three last year, 43% through the month of November, and it was that dip after early December and on. And I feel like, you know, in this game, well, it was the Maryland game that we were at prior to the Jimmy V. He takes the shot to the face, right? And it gets stitches right above his eye. And I feel like right after that, he wasn't in himself and shot a couple of air balls out here in the Jimmy V. And then you just wondered if Terrence was fully all right after that. And I think that threw off his rhythm. Obviously, so far, he's been shooting the lights out, and we'll see if that could continue on. But that really makes him an unguardable presence, because we know that downhill, not many people can account for his explosiveness and what he can do when he gets a full head of steam. If he's hitting the three as well, to put it simply, good luck.
Good luck indeed. That's why Brad Underwood said during our media session with him yesterday here in New York, that's why he's a pro. Probably going to be the case after his final year of eligibility for the Illini. As far as this game, it is the middle part of a very interesting three-game stretch for the Illini that went at Rutgers, neutral site against Florida Atlantic, who now after yesterday's AP Top 25, number 11 in the nation, and then a game in Knoxville at Tennessee against the number 17. That's why we bring Derek along. He's got the numbers in his head. Number 17 Tennessee Volunteers on Saturday. Early morning matchup in that one, 11 a.m. Should be an interesting crowd for that one, I have to say. And we talked about, on our last pregame at Rutgers, Illinois needing at least one of those from this pregame stretch. Newsflash, they got one at Rutgers to start. Now, how do you feel about these next two games against ranked opponents for the Illini and what it means for the season in general?
It'd be great if you can come home with at least 2 out of 3. Now, I think with the way that Illinois played at Rutgers, then people can get a little greedy and say, you know, why not sweep this stretch and just get a boatload of momentum and steamroll through December. I think this team is capable of that, especially when you look at Tennessee is not playing its best basketball lately. I mean, they've been through a challenging stretch, having lost to Purdue, then Kansas, then at North Carolina, and really their defense was exploited in that game in Chapel Hill. Also, Dalton Knecht, who's been a dynamite transfer to them, had an ankle injury late in that game. So I know he's questionable tonight. They have a game at home there in Knoxville, and just kind of the status that he's going to be in terms of going forward and how close to 100% he is or is not will be very interesting in that one. But Illinois, this is a toss-up kind of game, one that you can win, and I think both of those are huge opportunities for just resume building and moving yourself. You know, if you get 2 of these versus one of them, could be the difference in 2 seed lines when you're talking about NCAA tournament. Maybe you're a a 5 seed instead of a 7 or whatnot. Last year really winning in this game against Texas and overtime was probably the difference between making the tournament and sweating it out on Selection Sunday, if not outright going to the NIT, because they didn't have a whole lot of quality signature wins outside of UCLA and Texas. So I'm not saying that's going to be the case for Illinois, feast or famine wise, but just giving you that foundation to build on when you go back into the Big Ten. And I think it could show you a lot as far as confidence and where you stack up, because I think Kansas, Marquette, this FAU team, and also Tennessee, all very good candidates to go very, very deep in March. Obviously, FAU's already done it and could do it again this year as well. So can learn a lot, and then can really boost your resume to put you in a position to go on a run yourselves if you can take care of business here going forward.
It is a fun environment. We were both here last year. We saw how loud it got, especially when that game went to overtime. I'm sure that all of the event planners for the Jimmy B weren't happy that game took as long as it did. But Illinois needed all of that to be able to push Texas to the limit there and be able to pick up that win. Or specifically Terrence Shannon having one of his best games of the season up until that point, probably all year, because of the way that he took over in overtime and was able to will Illinois to the win there. Really just being able to get to the basket. We already talked about how his game has expanded this year. You got a lot of veterans on this team as well, Derek, who are used to these types of games, have played in just a lot of games in general, and that kind of experience on this kind of stage. I mean, you look up and you're playing at the Garden. That's where I feel like that type of stuff, your Quincy Guerriers, your Justin Harmons, guys that have played a lot of games, Marcus Damas, you bring those guys in for games like this.
100%. Yeah, you definitely want those that have been around the block a little bit. And, Quincy's played 4 years of high major basketball, so he's played at a high level. And Damask and Harmon, both guys stepping up from a mid to low major, but up until the high major basketball, and maybe some brighter lights for sure, but guys that have played a boatload of games. So you like to have that veteran presence, the experience. You're not relying on freshmen nearly as much, or really anywhere close to last year. You look at the fact, Dre Gibbs-Lawhorn doesn't play in that game against Rutgers. You only needed Amani for a little bit of a spurt there. And on the flip side, FAU, very old in their own right. A lot of juniors and seniors, a lot of guys that, pretty much their entire team was part of that Final Four run last year. So they have more experience together, where Illinois is still trying to gain that as a collective unit. But you love that all the different pieces, for the most part, with Illinois, has played a lot of games. They're older, more mature. You get into those crunch time moments, you want to make sure they're not making mistakes. And then just being Illinois looks like a grown man basketball team when they're out there with their physicality and their strength. And FAU, while they're not as tall as Illinois, has a lot of that about them as well. So, Brad comes in here, I think, with a lot of mental peace, knowing he's got old guys, and that the venue and the magnitude of the game isn't going to move the heart rate too much as it would maybe for a freshman. Although I will say, obviously, Jaden Epps last year as a freshman was a big reason why Illinois won that game.
Yeah, we can't talk about March too much. You did a little bit talking about how those big 3 opponents, those top 25 matchups in the non-conference, Marquette, this game against Florida Atlantic, Tennessee, those teams probably going late into March. But what do you think of this game, what it could mean for March when we eventually get to spring? A lot of games to be played there, but
I think it would mean a lot, because in the Big Ten, you're looking right now, it's a league that probably, we'll see how it fares out over the next handful of weeks. Like, Northwestern might be better than we thought. Ohio State's made a nice little run here. So while I think the initial reaction of, Michigan State going down to James Madison and some of those early season losses the Big Ten took, like, oh man, this could be a bad league. And Michigan State in particular towards the top, Maryland being down, and they still are a team that is struggling mightily. How many opportunities within your league is there going to be to build that resume up? Obviously, you play at Purdue. You're going to play Purdue twice. I still think Michigan State's going to be pretty decent on the whole, but maybe your opportunities are more limited than you would have thought going into a Big Ten slate. Illinois thought to have one of the tougher conference schedules out there. You can make up for that by getting some real solidified signature wins in the non-con. We'll see what Rutgers turns out to be, but FAU, Tennessee, either or both of those, I would pencil in as just rock star type of wins. I wouldn't have any fear that FAU is going to fall off. And while Tennessee's been on a little bit of a skid of late, I think they're going to have a really good season as well. And obviously going into Knoxville to get that win, if you do, would mean a ton. So, for FAU, they've been where you want to go. Yeah. They've been to the Final Four, and Dusty May is one of the bright young coaches in college basketball, and it's a chance to see where you stack up. And I think Illinois would, from a confidence standpoint, from a resume standpoint, and just testing yourself against that kind of an offense, that much firepower, it's just a lot to gain for the Illinois' perspective if you're able to hold your own and obviously come out with a win.
Yeah, Illinois taking the court again right behind us. A smattering of cheers as, again, about 45 minutes from tip-off, so fans still working their way into the arena, which should be a very fun evening, Derek. As we get close to wrapping this one up, because like we said, 45 minutes, we got a lot to do in those 45 minutes ahead of this game time.
We got to hunt down Tommy DeVito. Is he going to be in the house tonight?
We'll
Is that going to happen?
See, the Giants were on a bye week this past week.
Yeah.
I know they were trying to get him here. We'll have that update, though, if he is here for sure. Before we get to predictions, what are some of the keys for you as you look into this one? Maybe some players that you are particularly going to be watching closely?
Yeah, I think Damask is very key. He can take some pressure off of Shannon if he continue to build on what he did against Rutgers. Just have that aggressiveness, have the ability to go against a team that doesn't have a lot of size. When you look at 1 through 4, and maybe he gets back in that mid post and feels like he can take advantage of those opportunities. So, and I think defensively, knowing that FAU is going to play that 4-guard lineup, can he hold his own? Where Marcus isn't the quickest defender, a guy that at times can get exploited off the dribble. Can he be solid enough at that end and make sure that FAU isn't breaking them down and really creating those driving kick threes or obviously layups to the rim as well? I think Coleman's very important. I think defensively, he obviously did some very good things against Cliff Amori, but like we talked about earlier, Vlad Golden being more polished back to the basket, having a few more inches on Coleman at 7'1". How well does Coleman contain him defensively? I think on the glass is huge because of Golden's ability to get those second chance opportunities. Even if Illinois does hold FAU down from 3, if that 7'1" big guy is corralling those misses, you're really allowing them to hang around and maybe allow those other guys to navigate through some rough waters and then get hot. So I think Coleman's ability to do that on the defensive end. Then offensively, a guy that has not clicked in yet. So hasn't got the 3-ball going quite yet, and just looks a little bit out of sorts, a little bit rocky there against Rutgers. Can he be more solid? Can he maybe hit a couple of pick and pop threes that makes Golden come away from the basket and open things up for Shannon in the lane and whatnot? So I think that Illinois is going to need them all. They're going to need a collective effort and really just I can't wait to sit back and watch this whole thing play out because there are so many, both sides got great depth. Both sides obviously have great known strengths at one end of the floor particularly, and then how does the other team attack them in terms of that matchup. So let's hip it up and play ball. I'm ready.
It's going to be a fun one. All right. What is your prediction? What do you think is going to happen tonight? I know that Florida Atlantic 2.5-point favorite in this one. What do you think?
I mean, I think it can go either way. I really don't have a great feel in terms of picking this and feeling like I'm definitely on the right side or anything. But I think when you look at Florida Atlantic, the fact that they've played more together, I think that does give them a little bit of a benefit versus Illinois. It's still navigating some things. I think especially getting some tight crunch time moments. FAU obviously knows who they are in that sense. They've been battle tested, and you're just watching their games here in preparation for this. You can tell that they just have such a cohesion about them. I think Illinois is still trying to find that. I think from a talent perspective, Illinois can definitely win this game defensively with what they do. Can pose some problems for FAU, but I lean towards the team that has more experience together, especially early in the season. I have FAU 73, Illinois 70. Love to be wrong, and we'll find out shortly enough if I am.
I have no idea. Well, we talked earlier.
I could have just kept it short and simple and said that.
I got no idea.
Yeah.
You said earlier you're picking Florida Atlantic. I said I'm going to pick Illinois just because of how well they played against Rutgers. Am I confident in it? No, I think it could go either way. So I'm going to say Illinois 80, FAU 78. So 2-point win, and hopefully just a fun game.
That sounds like one. Some fireworks in there offensively. It should be fun.
Maybe OT again.
Right, I'm down.
Not.
I'm
we
down.
need that extra time after the game. Deadlines and such.
Deadlines, early flights out of here.
Yeah, we don't want to. Maybe we don't want OT. We'll try and get this one done in regulation. All right, Derek. For the time before this game starts, how can the people at home spend their time on Illini Inquirer getting ready?
I wrote a feature about Terrence Shannon coming off of the Rutgers game, just how he's playing so well at both ends, and I think he really is adapting that alpha role and being more comfortable in it this year. So I wrote about that. I also wrote about Marcus Damask, how they're pushing him to be more and more aggressive. And, Terrence says he's in his ear a bunch during games or practice, like, hey, if you don't take these open looks or try to really assert yourself, is that really that Robin to Shannon's Batman offensively, they're going to get on him about that. So he did a better job of that against Rutgers. I wrote about that as well. And then 3 keys in the pick, as always, breaking down the matchup, what I see from FAU and what Illinois needs to do to get it done tonight. So we got that going. We'll do a podcast with Jeremy after the game as well, and a lot of post-game coverage before that 7 a.m. flight out of Newark. Looking forward to that. Not really, but looking forward to this game 100%.
If you're a fan and you're on that flight too, say hello.
Yes, sir.
I'm sure there might be a few Illini on there.
Unless I'm sleeping.
All right. Wherever you're watching this right now, you can watch Brad Underwood's full post-game press conference as well. After this one, win or loss, here is post-game thoughts. Plus, coming up on WCIA at 5, we'll have my live report here from Madison Square Garden. And then at 6, I'll have reports on what the season and what this stretch of games means for the Illini as far as how the season plays out, momentum they may have going forward. And then at 10 o'clock, you'll have highlights from this one, plus my report here from Manhattan. Should be a very fun one, like Derek said. Hope for some fireworks.
Let's do it.
Offense.
Let's get it on.
It should be fun. All right.
Quick fun stats real quick. Did you know?
Oh boy, here we go.
Harry Styles holds the record for 15 consecutive nights at the Garden, and Billy Joel has a banner, 142 performances at the Garden as well. That's not off the top of my head. That's not in the research of the game notes. That's banners right above us.
Yeah, Derek's reading the banners. A lot of Rangers banners up there as well.
The Knicks on the other side.
You can feel the prestige in this place. Yeah. It's a fun place to be in. All right, for Derek, I'm Andy. Thanks for joining us on the Your Illini Nation pregame show. We will catch you after here for the postgame stream as well as on air. Enjoy the game, everyone. We'll see you then.